All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learning. And today we have a session on IELTS Writing Task 1. I know most of you face a lot of issues with it. So let's make it easy for ourselves today. So always remember that IELTS writing examination contains two tasks. Now for academic students, task 1 is report writing, which we are supposed to write on the basis of a visual input that's given to us. And writing task 2 is an essay writing task. So as I mentioned earlier, we are going to work on writing task 1. So what happens in case of writing task 1? You are given a visual input. Now this visual input can be a bar graph, a line graph, table, a diagram which depicts a process, or it can be a map which talks about the changes in a particular place with the passage of time, or a pie chart, or even multiple graphs are what we expect. Now, when we talk about these tables or these visual inputs, our main idea is to summarize the information. When we write a report, when we handle a report, we must summarize that particular piece of information. Now, how are we given a band score in IELTS writing task 1? Always remember that there are 4 major parameters on the basis of which you are awarded a band score. The first parameter is task achievement. Now, when we talk about task achievement, before we commence with it, always remember that a report has to be written within, or should I say, for at least 150 words. We can write more, but we always recommend the students to at least have that minimum length of 150, but you should write somewhere around 170 to 190 words. That is the recommended length. Now, when we talk about task achievement, remember it includes that we must cover the task requirements. That means we should always summarize the given information. We should have a structured report. And when we talk about the structure, the first and foremost thing is the length of the report, right? Writing the content in the correct length, 160. After this, remember, of course, the word length is what I discussed. You should present your ideas in a clear manner. It should not happen that you are giving the pieces of information in a haphazard manner. So as I said, it should be well structured, well made. And when we give the parameters, you should be very careful about the statistics. Then clearly present and highlight the key features. So what should we do that? Whatever striking features are there in a visual input, whatever we notify, that should always be mentioned in a separate paragraphs. The key features, we are not doing justice to the report. And eventually you cannot get your desired score on the level of task achievement. After this, we look at coherence and cohesion. Coherence and cohesion, everybody, stands for the logical flow of your answer, again in a structured manner. So what all should we include? Ensure that you have the required number of paragraphs. Each writing task 1 must have 4 paragraphs in it. It may vary from 4 to 5 paragraphs, and each paragraph has a respective information. We'll discuss that also, what type of information we must state. Then you should organize the information in a logical manner. Should not happen that first you talk about one particular visual input, you give half of its information, then you jump on to the second visual input. No, you should be more organized in it. And in order to have a proper link in your answer, you must use the cohesive devices, which we call as linkers. Words such as however, moreover, also, although, furthermore, similarly, on the contrary, they help us to have more logic, more sense in the statements that we add. After this, we come to the lexical resource. Lexical resource stands for a wide range of vocabulary. Now, instead of using simple vocabulary words like, let's say, very tall buildings, we can say skyscrapers, extremely tall, right? We can use such vocabulary words. Then, vocabulary should convey appropriate meaning. Now, this should not happen that you try to use a good vocabulary word, but it is not imparting the correct meaning. If it talks about something else which can be taken in another literal sense, of course, you are making a mistake there. Use collocations, use the combination words, or we call them as phrasal verbs also. For instance, if we have to talk about increasing traffic, we can simply say that the population of automobiles on road, or the number of automobiles on road. So this will give us an alternate way to talk about the traffic instead of using the same word traffic again and again. After this, be particular about your spellings. Yes, you have to be very careful about your spellings. If you think you are not using the correct spellings for a particular word, try to replace the word. After this comes grammatical range and accuracy. Now, when we talk about grammar, of course, we need to be very careful about our punctuations, because if we do not know how to put or use the comma, full stop, semicolons, of course, we are bound to lose our marks here. Use a range of sentence structures. Now, in this case, we always insist on the use of compound and complex sentence structures. We should try to use active or passive voice whenever we try to rephrase something. That makes your job much easier. Let's move on and have a look at the correct report structure that we must follow in IELTS. Now, the first paragraph, whenever a visual input is given to us, we call the first paragraph as the introduction or the beginning of a report. Some people even prefer to call it the paraphrased paragraph. So here, we just try to paraphrase or rephrase whatever the question topic is. Whatever the question says. If it is a visual input, which is a bar graph, if it is a line graph, then we have to start our report using words such as the graph illustrates, the chart depicts, or we can even say the given, let's say the given map illustrates, right? So whenever we continue or when we start with our report, we should make sure that we use such terminologies to begin with our report. After this, we should mention what do we see. Is it related to the traffic growth in a certain place? So you can say the given, let's say if I want to give you a sample here, I can say the given graph illustrates this traffic congestion in New Delhi, right? For which year are we representing the data? So everything is given in the visual input and you just have to put it here. You just have to notify that. Let's say for the year 2022, right? After this, how is the data calibrated? How are the statistics measured? So the data is calibrated or calculated in percentage, or the data is represented in percentage, right? So whatever we see, we always notify that. And also remember that this is a rule that we write the first paragraph in present tense, right? We need to make sure that the first paragraph is written in present tense, because think about it logically. This is the time when they give you a visual input and you're writing a report. So it should be in present tense. The remaining paragraphs for a report, they majorly depend upon the years mentioned. Now, the year given to me, the timeline given to me is for the year 2022. This is 23. So I know that I have to use past tense, right? Then we move on to the second paragraph. The second paragraph is what we call as the overview paragraph. And the overview paragraph basically highlights, or it talks about the striking features, right? If I talk about the traffic, maybe the traffic of cars is highest as compared to all the other automobiles, right? Maybe the bar graph that talks about the highest utility of cars. Then maybe after that, we have buses and then auto rickshaws, two-wheelers, Delhi Metro. It can be anything, right? So according to the visual input, whatever is the striking feature, that means the thing which is used the most or in highest demand, we talk about that without giving the statistics. So we try to give comparison here with our sentences, and it can be something like this. I can put a statement that overall it is evident that cars were the most preferred means of transportation in Delhi. While let's say bicycle, or should we say bicycle, or we can even say two-wheelers, were the least preferred by the commuters. Can you see the type of vocabulary we are trying to use here, right? Here, I have not given any measurement that this much percentage of people were using cars, this much percentage of people were using the two-wheelers. No, we will not give any statistics in the second paragraph. We'll save that for the third paragraph. So please make sure that when you write the third paragraph, you will give the statistics of the striking features, right? And when we talk about the fourth paragraph, of course, if we are giving the striking features, the striking feature for us was car, and let's say the two-wheelers, we gave their statistics there, and we still have three elements left in the visual input, which we have not discussed. So we'll put their details in the fourth paragraph. So details of the remaining elements, right? We give their details here in the fourth paragraph, the statistics. Now, some students, they also think that, ma'am, sometimes there's too much of content in a visual input. In that case, we can write a fifth paragraph. So remember, fifth paragraph is always optional for us. We use it only when we have excessive data, excessive statistics, then we may write a fifth one. But paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4 are mandatory. I hope this is clear, right? Let's check if we have any messages to read. Okay. All right. Now, let's move on and understand what do we mean by linkers. So I said that in order to have good cohesive devices in your reports, you definitely need linkers. So what are linkers? Linkers are the words that help us to connect our statements and our ideas better. We try to use moreover. Similarly, whenever we talk about something on a similar platform, so let's say similarly, moreover, also, likewise. So we can try to use such words to connect the ideas which are on similar basis. For instance, I can say that I used to eat a lot of chocolates as a child. Moreover, I am still inclined towards it. So what I liked earlier, I like something similar. Today also, same pattern. But if I have a contradiction, right? If I used to like something else earlier, but now I like something else. But gives the contradiction. So in that case, we can use linkers such as however, on the contrary, conversely, right? Or we can use such linkers to connect our ideas also. Then remember to take care of your spellings. Whenever you feel that I am making a spelling error, replace the word. It is always advisable to use another word rather than making a spelling error. Then take care of your grammar. You should use complex and compound sentences when you write something. Now, complex sentences, of course, what are they? We need to which can be taught to you in the coming sessions. And you should cover all the requirements of the task. Don't leave any points. You should not leave anything uncovered. So when you're given a visual input, you must give a response to each and every element given to you in the report, right? Let's have a look at this question. The two bar charts show the proportion of 14 to 16-year-old students studying a modern foreign language in an English-speaking country and the top 3 popular foreign languages. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparison where relevant. Now, students, please remember, whenever we come across any visual input, what is the first thing we should always observe? The timeline. Because if our timeline is incorrect, we are bound to make more mistakes. Grammatically, you will make mistakes and you'll be losing your marks, right? So what is the timeline here for us? The timeline given here is 1984 and 2007, right? And what are the key features? Here we have 2 different visual inputs, 2 different bar graphs. Now, bar graph 1, what does it represent? It talks about the girl and boy populace who are interested to learn a foreign language. So in 1984, if we observe it, what do we see? That majority of the girls, they are inclined towards learning a foreign language, while in 1984, boys were not much interested, right? They were nearly half of the girl populace, nearly half. However, with the passage of time, the interest in the girl populace also decreased, right? This is what we can see. And if we look at the top 3 languages, what were the top 3 languages? French, German, Spanish, right? So we can see that major domination. Again, understand what will you give in the overview. The major domination is of French, right? If we look at both the years, French is definitely the leader. However, with time, of course, the popularity of French decreased, but it still remained top of the charts. Then if we look at German, of course, we can see that German was also studied by 20% of the students, but it was still less than half of the popularity of French, while Spanish was the least preferred language in 1984. However, with the passage of time, I would say Spanish increased in popularity, right? If we see it improved from 5% to 10%, there is an increase, but still it couldn't surpass all the other languages, right? So this is what we see. This is what we observe in this visual input. And then let's understand how should we start with the response. How should we start writing it? So the first paragraph, everyone, as I mentioned earlier, is your introduction on the given visual input. Let me switch on the power bank. Okay. So this is the introduction for the report. One of the given bar charts illustrates the percentage of a section of teenagers learning a modern foreign language in a country where the native language is English. The other bar chart depicts information about the most popular of these languages. The data pertains to 1984 and 2007. So whatever we see, whatever we observe in this visual input, we have mentioned that in the introduction paragraph. I'm not giving any comparison here. This is high, this is low, this is more, this is less. No, it is just an observation, just to notify whatever we see in both the visuals, right? We've even mentioned the way statistics are measured or calibrated. And if you can understand, see here, instead of writing boys and girls, we use the word teenagers, right? So this is an alternate vocabulary word. This is what we mean by higher vocabulary here, right? After this, what are the major features? Let's understand that. Now, when we notify the major features, it is not that I will only talk about the first bar graph and I will not mention anything on the second. We have to pick up the striking features from both the visual inputs, right? So if we look at the first visual input, we can see that girls were more inclined towards learning a foreign piece of language as compared to the boys, right? The girl population was high in both the years. And when we look at the second visual input, it is quite evident that French was the most dominating language, while Spanish was the least preferred one. Again, an observation, that's our striking feature. This is what we need to notify in the overview paragraph. Let's have a look. Now, the overview paragraph says, overall, it is seen that in both years, female students were more interested in studying a foreign language as compared to male students. Moreover, most students chose to learn French while Spanish was the least preferred one, right? We gave our observations, but no statistics. How much percentage, how many students? No statistics to be shared here, because the statistics will go in the third and the fourth paragraph. So how do we give that? Let's read the third and the fourth paragraph now. Now here, the third paragraph is going to be related to this visual input, and the fourth one will handle this visual input to make our job easier. So in 1984, almost 50% of the girl students aged 14 to 16 opted to learn a non-native language, whereas at 30%, the population was much lower for male students. However, by 2007, right, the proportion had dropped to 40% and around 22% for girls and boys respectively, right? This paragraph, paragraph 3, is completely related to the first visual input. Yeah. Now you might be wondering, ma'am, why have you given 14 to 16? It was mentioned in the question before, right? I cannot show it to you here, but it was originally mentioned in the beginning. After this, let's look at the fourth paragraph. The fourth paragraph will give us the statistics for the second visual input. Half of the students who chose to study a foreign language opted for French in 1984. In comparison, only 1/5 of the students chose German, whereas it was and insignificant 5% for Spanish, right? We are looking at 1984, everyone. See, domination of students, or let's say the interest or inclination of students towards French. Then if we look at Spanish, it is approximately at 5%, isn't it? Insignificant 5% for Spanish. After this, interestingly, in 2007, there was a sharp reduction of 50% in the ratio of students learning French. The drop was almost similar for German as well. Conversely, Spanish was the only language where the percentage of students studying it doubled to 10%. Isn't it? If we look at it in 1984, it was hardly 5%. And now in 2007, we can see 10%, right? So this is how we should give the comparison. This is the way how we need to use comparative language also when we write a report. So be very careful when you pick up your sentences, when you pick up your tenses. Now, I kept insisting on the use of different sentence structures also. So now let's have a look at some different sentence structures. If we look at this particular sentence, let's have a look at this one. The drop was almost similar to German as well, right? Now, what is it referring to? It is referring to the previous one, that how much French suffered, right? If we look at French language, how much was it, and it came down to half of the level. Now, in this case, what we can do is, if we read the first half, interestingly, in 2007, there was a sharp reduction of 50% in the ratio of students learning French. A similar observation was noticeable in case of German. We can say that also. We can give an alternate sentence structure, a sentence pattern, right? So just remember, everyone, the correct placement is extremely important to us. So first paragraph, let's revise everything. First paragraph is the introduction. Second paragraph is the overview, where we talk about the striking features. Then third paragraph is for the details. And the fourth paragraph can be called as the area where we give the remaining, the pending details, statistics, or in a contradictory manner, we try to give the leftover pieces of information, right? So here we can say the pending or remaining. Right? So whatever statistics are remaining for the pending elements, we just try to mention that here. Interactive session for all of you. So please, if you want to learn more on writing task 1, you can definitely join us. You can join the courses with Learning. We have one-to-one courses and group classes as well. So our next live streaming on Wednesday will be on map and diagram. We will also understand the use of different tenses in this particular session, right? So all the best. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.